Welcome to Noun Clauses, the recap. What did we learn this week? We reviewed that a clause is a group of words that must contain its own subject and its own verb. We also learned that to create noun clauses, we need to build a dependent clause, which would be the noun clause itself, and then link it to the independent clause to make it a complete sentence. To form noun clauses, we need to start with an introductory word, such as question words: who, what, where, when, which, whose, whom, why, and how, whether or if, ever words, and that, which can usually be omitted. Now, I want you to keep in mind that some of these introductory words can be used in adjective clauses. They are called relative pronouns or adverbs, so they are not mutually exclusive to noun clauses. They just perform a different role in the sentence. So in order for noun clauses to actually act like nouns, they have to take the place of a particular noun anywhere in the sentence. So we can actually have different uses for the noun clauses. The 5 main ways we use noun clauses are as a subject, object, subject complement, object of a preposition, and adjective complement. We're going to discuss each one individually. First, we can use noun clauses as the subject of the independent clause. In this case, the whole noun clause takes the place of the subject. So when we think about sentences, mentally we have our subject, we have our verb, and maybe our object. What this noun clause is going to do is take the position of that subject. Let's take a look at the example. What Anna wrote on her notebook confused Miss Mercer. You're going to see that we have an introductory word starting the sentence. In this case, what? We have the subject, Anna, and we have the verb, wrote. Now, all of this, what Anna wrote on her notebook, could be replaced by the word something. And this simply means that if you can replace this with something, it's a good indication that it is a noun clause, because it would still make sense. Something confused Miss Mercer. What confused Miss Mercer? What Anna wrote on her notebook. And if you do noun clauses as a subject, just keep in mind you do have to start with introductory word, subject, verb, but then you're going to need to include a main verb for the actual sentence, because all the noun clause did was replace the subject. So that's why we have confused as our main verb, and then we have an object, in this case, me, Miss Mercer. Another way in which we can use noun clauses is when we use them as objects. This means that the noun clauses will be placed after the verb. And if you think of objects, we have 2 kinds. Indirect objects answer the questions who or whom, while direct objects answer the question what. So, if you see the example, I don't know what teacher Matt will assign for homework, you can clearly see that the main sentence has a main subject and a main verb. In this case, I and don't know. But then if you ask yourselves, what don't I know? You say, well, obviously something. What is that something? What teacher Matt will assign for homework. You see the introductory word what, you see teacher Matt as the subject, and then you have the verb will assign. You can have prepositional phrases or complements to complete the idea, but you know that you have to have at least the subject and the verb in the clause in order to make it a noun clause. Now, for objects, you could also do embedded questions. Remember that embedded questions are going to be noun clauses that are created in a question form. But in order to do so, you have to insert a question phrase in the initial position and then insert the noun clause in the object position. So if you look at can you tell me if this is correct, you're going to notice that you have, for the question phrase, you have can, the auxiliary, you have the subject, you, and the main verb. And this just tells you this is a question. It follows the question word order. Now, can you tell me what? That means I need an object. Then I can say, can you tell me something? Well, can you tell me if this is correct? You have the introductory word if, you have the subject this, and then you have the verb to be as the verb. Be very careful not to invert the order because this is a common mistake everyone makes. Sometimes because you're asking a question, you will have the urge to revert and say, can you tell me if is this correct? For a complete list of phrases that you can use for objects and embedded questions, please refer to the PowerPoint located in the Noun Clauses module. You have 2 tables where you will find phrases that you can use in the initial position for objects and 1 different one for embedded questions. Thirdly, we can have noun clauses as subject complements. A subject complement refers back to the subject by answering what or whom. In this case, we try to see the whole sentence as a mirror. You will normally have a verb to be, but you could also have a linking verb. The linking verb is functioning as a non-action verb. What does all of this mean? That means that you're going to have a subject and you are going to have like an equal sign because it mirrors, right? Equal sign, and then you're going to have the noun clause. That means it is the same. It refers back to the subject. So let's take a look at the example. The class is exactly what you expected. The class is the subject. The linking verb would be the main verb. But if you see it clearly, you're not really, the verb to be is not falling on the noun clause. Technically, you could ask, the class is what? And then you could say what you expected. But verbs to be are always functioning as linking verbs. That means it mirrors. So in this case, the class equals what you expected. It is telling us what kind of class we were anticipating. That means it modifies the subject and not the actual verb. This is what makes it a complement. And you're going to see that the noun clause has the introductory word what, the subject you, and the verb expected. The fourth use for noun clauses is for objects of a preposition. This is going to be very similar to noun clauses of objects. The only difference is you are using a preposition before the noun clause, and it usually comes with the verb. It's like a phrase that comes with the verb and the preposition. Now, I'm going to tell you a golden rule for prepositions. Whenever you use a preposition in a sentence, what follows the preposition must be a noun, a gerund, a noun phrase, or a noun clause. So in this case, we see the example, I am proud of what you have accomplished. If you analyze this sentence, you see that you have the subject I the verb am. But then you see a combination here, proud of. So when you ask yourself the question, what am I proud of? You see what you have accomplished. But it comes after the preposition, so it has to be object of a preposition. And the noun clause itself, it's a clause because it has the introductory word what, the subject you, and the verb have accomplished. The last use for noun clauses involves adjective complements. Adjective complements, what they do is they provide more information about the independent clause. So if we look at the example, Matt is excited that someone found the head for his Lego man. Technically, if you look at the independent clause, Matt is excited, this is considered a complete sentence. But if we just say Matt is excited, we don't get much information about it, correct? We want to know what makes Matt so happy. So by giving it a noun clause, we get to know more about what makes him happy. So you're going to notice that is in parentheses because most of the times we can omit it. For purposes of this class, I want you to practice on writing the word that. That is followed by the subject someone, and then it's followed by the verb found. So when you say, in this case, you wouldn't say what Matt is excited what, right? That is because adjective complements have to give information by using that. In this case, as we learn on the PowerPoint and the virtual class, we have two formulas that we can use for adjective complements. The first one, which is the one on the example, subject plus be plus adjective plus that clause. The other formula is it is adjective that clause. So if you really want to see how you build these two type of formulas, please refer back to the PowerPoint. It'll give you explanations and it'll give you examples. I want you to take a look at all the materials and review the information. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you for watching.